Hey guys, my name is Ace and welcome to Untethered, a place where I post guided meditations, messages, etc. So I would say that this message is part 2, an extension of previous message. So the previous message I posted was all about the shattering of an illusion. However, I wasn't necessarily specific about that part. I mentioned it multiple times, shattering of the illusion, letting go of all beliefs, but what I think is highly specific about this season of your life and this concept of shattering the illusion is that it has a lot to do with spirituality and your connection to something higher. It's funny because I'm being disrupted again and distracted, so that could be significant. But I would say don't use those distractions as a sign to stop. These distractions are just a proof in a way that no matter what you're doing, there always will be something that's trying to maybe stop you in a way, but it isn't necessarily harmful. It's you who gives that thing the power to stop you. But if you don't give it your power, then it cannot stop you. I hope that makes sense. And the example for this would be you're thinking about starting something new, and then someone all of a sudden mentions how that thing is really hard to be successful at. And you are oh, well, maybe this is a sign for me to stop. But really, it isn't. It's more of a test. And I don't really like to believe that every little thing that happens to you is a test, which can be really frequent thing in spiritual community. And it's really interesting because in all the 3 readings I have posted, it seems like I'm talking against spiritual community, which is really not my intention. And I love spiritual community. It's just that, again, this connects us to the whole idea of shattering the illusions, which I talked about in my previous reading. So this could be another, shattered illusion. Not everything is a sign. Sometimes things just happen. However, this doesn't mean that you shouldn't look out for signs and be inspired by positive signs you see. They definitely are there to give you more courage and inspiration. It's just that when something bad happens, for example, it isn't always necessarily a sign. Or like I mentioned, just because someone told you that the business you're trying to build is hard to maintain, that doesn't mean that that's the sign for you to stop and never try again and push harder. But yeah, I mentioned spiritual community, and I feel that's what I'm being called to talk about. Again, this connects us to the whole idea of shattering of an illusion. Let me explain. A couple of days ago, I saw a post that talked about how those frequencies that you listen to on YouTube aren't accurate. Matter of fact, they aren't even real frequencies. So if you're someone who's, I don't want to say if you're someone who's into spirituality, because I'm not saying that frequencies are necessarily a spiritual thing, but they definitely are in this realm and world of spirituality and healing and self-growth. You know how there are certain healing frequencies, for example, 369 hertz or 432 hertz or something like that. Those definitely can be helpful. But yeah, unfortunately, those people are right. There are many frequencies on YouTube, for example, that aren't even what they claim to be. And that person who posted the video basically did a test, and it showed that those frequencies aren't what they claim to be. Now, you may ask, okay, why would someone post fake frequencies or something? Well, unfortunately, there is a lot of, I don't want to call it fake, but it is kind of fake spiritual content. Actually, I feel the right word would be inauthentic. Now, those people might post those videos for multiple reasons. It could be for views. It could be for some sort of attention, or maybe they're just unaware that what they're posting is inauthentic. So really, these people don't have any malicious intentions or harmful intentions, but they aren't really connected to the whole spiritual realm and community. It's more of like a mask they wear in a way. This could also imply to subliminal channels. There's like quite a lot of subliminal channels, and there definitely are some that are like really authentic, and they are what they claim to be. Okay, they are. But there are certain channels that, again, like they aren't harmful, and I don't necessarily believe that they're like putting negative affirmations in their subliminals, but they're just not necessarily creating something authentic and strong. It's almost like they're doing it for the aesthetic of it. So again, this isn't to like scare you and make you skeptical and make you feel anxious. It's just to be like more aware that certain things aren't what they claim to be. And it's almost like this creates a hollow and empty feeling inside of you because you believed in something for so long and all of a sudden it's like not true, which can be hard for you to accept. But the sooner you accept this, the easier it will be for you to grasp and like see the bigger picture of it all. However, what is good about this and what is the positive side of this is that I mentioned how there's maybe a bunch of creators who are inauthentic. However, I mentioned the person who talked about those, let's call them fake frequencies. And there was a bunch of people in the comments who were like agreeing with it and also like talking about their experience, which shows that we are shifting as a collective. And there is a spiritual community who's actually authentic and is sensing these inauthentic people, which again, we shouldn't have anything against them. I don't believe that they have harmful intentions. However, the more you evolve and step into your presence and power, the harder it is for you to like accept what isn't real and tolerate inauthenticity. So really we're just shifting as a community, but it's almost like those who aren't, again, authentic are falling off. And that can be hard for you because it's similar to having a friend you really care about and all of a sudden finding out that they have talked badly behind your back. And all of a sudden it's like you have to let go of them, but you kind of don't want to. But it's for the best and you can't stand something that isn't real. So you are choosing to be uncomfortable, but rather stay true to yourself, which is a beautiful thing. And this is what is happening to this spiritual community and especially this collective as a whole. Another thing I would like to mention that connects the dots in a way is understanding the concept that really you are the universe. Like usually when we look at, let's call them beliefs. I wanted to call them things, but see, that's interesting. I don't really want to call them things. I don't know what I should call them, but let's call them beliefs, such as spirituality and religion. We tend to think that that's something that's like outside of ourselves. Like, you pray to God, you talk to the universe. It always feels like it's something outside of you, when in reality, it is inside you and you are the universe. And listen, this can sound really like harsh, like everyone has different point of view and their perspective and their take on religion and spirituality, and I don't want to change that for you. But again, we're talking about illusions and shattering. Because when you look at those things and see them as something outside of yourself, it's kind of like you are not in control at all. And whatever happens to you, you choose to see it as something that was like out of your control. And when in reality, you did kind of have a control, but maybe you didn't act on it. So it's kind of like using spirituality or religion as something outside of you and creating an illusion that something was maybe like not meant for you because it didn't happen, when in reality you just didn't try enough. You didn't try hard enough. Again, take everything I say with a grain of salt. I'm not saying that you should never like pay attention to signs and like, yeah, sometimes you will just have a gut feeling that something isn't meant for you, and that's totally okay. But just be cautious and like try not to like sit with crossed arms and like expect everything to like happen for you without taking any action. So really the message here is you are the one who creates your reality and you are the universe really experiencing itself in a way. And that can be hard to accept because sometimes we like to use things as fate as an excuse in a way. And listen, if you believe in fate, absolutely beautiful. That's totally okay. But I just believe that in this season of your life, it isn't necessarily serving you. And you shouldn't use fate as an excuse to just do nothing and expect everything. But again, this is actually a beautiful thing. I know it might sound a bit scary, but really it's beautiful because it's almost like I'm proud of you because it's grasping the idea of how really powerful you are and that that power isn't outside of you. It's within you and it was there the entire time. It was just waiting for you to like notice it and like, use it. Significant thing could be fall, which sounds logical because it is fall, in fact. But specifically, I'm talking about changing of leaves and leaves turning yellow and going from vibrant green color to this like yellowish dull color. And that I would say represents certain things changing in your life, like old beliefs changing. However, instead of looking at these leaves and like thinking how they are ruining your plant and how the whole plant is dying, you can just choose to take care of them and simply like remove them, like cut them off. And the plant will look healthy again. Also, pay attention to unfinished projects. If you have something that you have started doing, try to finish it because it feels like it's creating clutter in a way and it's creating this like stagnant energy because it's being unfinished and it has been sitting like that for a while and it's like waiting to be completed. So really the whole point of this message is to simply trust. Things aren't as you believed they were, and that can scare you and frighten you, but really it shouldn't because it's just showing you that the power you believed in for so long wasn't something outside of yourself. It was within you all along. And it's finally time to accept that. And it can be hard, but once you accept this, you will evolve even more. Also remember that it's fall and it's season of hibernation, which is all about, rest and like shedding the old skin. And that's what really is happening here. So don't overthink it. Don't overcomplicate things. Don't overanalyze. You don't have to. Everything is fine. It's just that, again, you're stepping into a new timeline, but much more authentic one. That's all I have for today. I hope that this helped you, and I hope that the right collective will find this. I appreciate you, and I will see you in the next message. Bye.